This week's Parsha, Korach, contains one of the most shocking moments in all of Torah. The earth itself will, quote, open its mouth and swallow people. We understand it as the description of an earthquake, but the Torah didn't say the earth shook. It doesn't give us the details of an earthquake. It specifically tells us that the earth opens its mouth and swallows Korach and his followers, and we are told explicitly that they are swallowed alive. It's shocking. And with that statement of how it's being described to us, we see role reversals. And that's where everything in that moment hinges on meaning. Korach is leading a rebellion against Moses. He is accusing him of hubris and ego and privilege, and Moses is paralyzed because he can't answer that. He's too humble, and he would have to then justify himself in why he should be the leader and he should have the role he has, and he can't do that because he's unable to do it, and that's not anything new. We saw that at the burning bush as well. We understood at the burning bush when God came to Moses and said, you are the one who has to lead Israel out. You are the one who will have to then go speak to Pharaoh. You will be leading these people. Moses immediately said, no, I can't do that, no. And so we understood at the very beginning he didn't think he was worthy. And to then get where he is now, all these years later, all of the events of Egypt later, only to understand he still thinks that way. He still thinks he's not worthy. And so when Korach is coming and saying what he's saying, he's actually triggering within Moses everything Moses believed about himself all along. So we understand about ourselves that we are most vulnerable to the things people say about us that we already felt was a weakness within us. We believe that somehow they can see inside of us, and they know, somehow they know. And then they say it to us, and we absolutely believe them. And we don't question it. If it wasn't something we already believed, we would be insulted by someone saying something like that to us. But because we already believe it, we're not insulted. We actually feel violated. We feel trespass. We feel that somehow they breached into us and saw our weaknesses. And that's what Moses is feeling. So at this moment, Korach's mouth has become the weapon. We see no other weapon. The Torah does not tell us that they are approaching Moses armed. They're not coming with a military rebellion where we have to worry about the weapon. The only weaponry are the words they're saying. It's the power of the words. And that power almost defeats Moses. That's how powerful it is. So soon the earth will open its mouth and defeat Korach. And now it's a very fitting response, because the weaponry is matched. It's Korach opening his mouth and the earth opening its mouth. But when we move beyond that, we're very nervous about the reversal that we're seeing. As people, all of humanity eats what the earth gives for us. It is our mouths that open, and we consume the produce of the land, and that's how we sustain ourselves, and that seems to be the natural bargain of the earth and humanity, that we will coexist this way and we will nurture each other this way. But when we go back to the spies, when they went into the land of Israel, not that long before these events, and they came back, here was their claim. They said, that is a land that eats its inhabitants, meaning it won't grow anything for its people, so the people are not going to be eating anything. The land is waiting for the people to die and then be buried into the land so the land can eat them. It's a horrifying image of an earth revolting against us. The spies described a land that reverses the natural order of things, reverses the roles of the people who are going to inhabit the land. The haunting image of a land that will passively kill its people and then wait to decompose them. Who, in their right mind, would want to live there? Who would enter such a land? And who would then continue to follow a God who misled them to trap them in such a land? But all of Israel believes the 10 spies. They refuse to enter the land, and it's a rejection of destiny and a betrayal of God. It is choosing the words of man over the words of God, and it is painting a picture of nature that will hunt humanity. It's a distortion of creation. And now God is making the image of all of that come true, and the roles of land and inhabitant have reversed when the earth opens its mouth and swallows Korah. All this sits in the power of words. The spies only spoke words. Korah is only speaking words, and the damage is reverberating, and it's enormous. Judaism does not believe that we could ever speak absolute truth because we don't believe there is such a thing as absolute truth in the world we live in. We believe in contextual truth. Something that speaks truthfully at one moment may not be appropriate or truthful in another moment. The taking of a life is not killing or murder until I know the circumstances of it. So there is no truth that would then inform everything. It's context that would then inform everything. And context will be understood by different people in different ways. So I could never reach for truth. So I don't. I reach for meaning. We are always cautioned about how we use our words. We are told never to curse anyone, only to bless people, because our words will create something positive or negative, and then we have to live with that. We put that out there, and we now live with what we just did with our words. The context of the Torah passage right now stands in line with the last few weeks of the readings of the Parsha. It begins with Miriam and Aaron, who think they're chit-chatting, but chit-chat of siblings then moved quickly to gossiping about Moses and his wife. And God responds with an action that should have shut it down. Miriam gets leprosy. She's eventually cured, but leprosy, it should have shut it down. It doesn't work, because the misuse of words escalates into the next parsha when the spies go and speak badly of the land of Israel and undermine the people's trust in God. But they're only using words, and they've convinced others to betray their own trust, and these words will cost an entire generation their lives because they're all going to die in the desert now. And even that lesson doesn't shut it down, because now we're in the reading of Korah, who mounts a rebellion with words. And he convinces another tribe to join him who are disgruntled, and he's using his words with all the unhappy should have beens. It should have been me. It should have been me. It's all the language and the words. It leads to death, destruction, and the ultimate reversal of the human relationship with the very earth we inhabit. Today we see a world so challenged in so many ways. The physical pandemic still affects so many people, and the verbal attacks that we see going on Jews, on Asian people, people of color, people of difference in any way. They're being attacked with words. When I was growing up, I remember learning the ditty, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." It's not true, and Judaism tells us it's not true. Names will hurt, words will attack, betrayals will happen, and lives will be lost. The impact of the Korah narrative lies in the understanding that the weaponry that was used wasn't sourced from outside. It was first sourced from inside. The weapons of all of this sit within us, and we are the ones who can disarm ourselves by looking at our words. By watching our words and choosing where we invest them is not only of some significance, it is of every significance.